While engaging in any activity, the first question I ask myself is what is the purpose of it? Why would one want to participate in a vulnerable talk? To share the side of her inner self that she's considering that as her weakness. According to Wikipedia, vulnerability refers to inability of a system or unit to withstand the effect of a hostile environment. Why would anybody want to be in a hostile environment? After much of thinking, I come to conclusion that there might be two reasons for this act. Number one, walking naked and letting everyone see what we have is a daring act. Opening up mostly make us empowered and much lighter. Number two, to show that I'm vulnerable makes me part of a community instead an outsider, especially at a time we all going through a tough time. Moreover, honest sharing of emotions, thoughts, and ideas create sense of belongingness and connection to everyone who have felt or thought that way. So here we are, vulnerable in our thoughts, in our visions, and in that expression of our deep emotions. And these have made us one. It has made us together and has mostly made us human. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Here is All Vulnerable Talk. To our 7 speakers of tonight, I thank you so much for being honest and courageous to also come to this show. 3 minutes is very important, so stick to the time. And when you hear the alarm, wrap up in 5 to 10 seconds. To our dear audiences, thank you so much also for being here, joining us. Please write your tips, comments, or questions in the chat box. And if you have anything specifically to say to any of the speakers, you can write to them directly or share it with everyone in the chat room. At the end of the session, we have an extra 10 minutes for Q&A session. And one last thing before we start, please remember that we are here to share, not to judge. Now, I want to have a special thanks to, first of all, Joint Idea, our house, Marcus and Eda, our family of Love Mafia for supporting us in each and every act we do, Elif for being here, giving us the platform, Azra for helping us to do the beautiful design, and of course to Özkan, my partner. We are together in this, we are hosting you. And I'm so thankful to him for being the actual curator of this talk with his words and his mind, his amazing energy. Özkan'cığım, do you want to say something?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the beautiful introduction, and thank you for the beautiful words to everyone, and especially to me. I would like to thank you for your patience, because the idea has been exchanged between us for quite some time, but you were patient enough. And then I got to drive, and last week we started. Let's keep on going. We tried to create a safe place to share, but most importantly, this session is for the audience. The speakers, the 7 speakers will go for 3 minutes each, but the only ingredient for a real communication to happen is to have a listener. And I thank you all, everyone, the 7 speakers and all the audience for being here with us. And all we need for this session is your ears, your eyes, your mind, but most importantly, your heart. So now, please leave all that you know outside of this session. Sit back and open your hearts as if you were just born into this world. This is a safe place. So Sheri, who is our first speaker?
First speaker is our Fire Phoenix, Mr. Özgür Atanur. Thank you so much for being with us. The media professional, the musician, and the drum right behind, chasing the feeling of a collective rhythm and the belief that the universe speaks through frequency. Dear Özgür, please.
Hi everyone. It's always hard to be the first, but let's try. This is vulnerable talk. So I would like to calm you down first. And thank you. I've performed the 8th note of and part of Yves Klein's monotone silent symphony. The sound of silence. Like the name of the symphony, our lives were chaotic but monotonous. In the beginning, there were uncertainty for me in these times, and for us, I believe. So there were real fear and anxiety. But then ataraxia appeared, peace and freedom from fear and anxiety. This is the word for it. So I would like to open my just presentation to follow these moments also. And sorry, let's, yes. So this after peace and freedom from fear, ataraxia, we faced with aponia. I faced with aponia, the absence of pain. We retreated our homes, and there were a real silence then. This ataraxia and aponia, after this one, I've jumped to another state. I called it X state because routine is broken. Rollo May defines two ways of thinking. One of them is open mode, the other one is the closed mode. And in closed mode, we are in the routine of daily routines. Yeah, we tick our to-dos. But in open mode, when the routine is broken, we are in an open mode, and of course, we just jumped to another state. We jumped to this state during wars, drugs, sex, and the most important part was sex, sex and also pandemics. So it was an ecstasy period for me when I was at home and when I was in an X state. So then it turned to creativity. Everyone and me, I've encountered with my inspirations. And then I started to face with harmony, of course, because it was one of the most important things in my life to listen to the rhythm of life. And I realized that we are in the new era of human being, which is exponential, which is the way to exponential humanity. And I started to just be in that harmony more than before. And I realized that everyone starts to shout more, cry more, listen more, talk more, share more. And yes, we were together creating, sharing our inspirations. And then I understand that like this kind of families that we are now in, like Love Mafia and the others, our creation is going better and better. Now, only a few things left, hugs and kisses, you know. We have only few things left. So I say to all of you, let the Dionysus festival begins. And for these periods, because new areas started, I would like to say salute and cheers to all of you for this new era. And I would like to have fun of this new era with creativity, harmony, and listening the frequency of this cosmic orchestra, because universe doesn't speak English. Universe speaks frequency. So salute, friends. This is my ending.
Thank you.
Cheers. Salute. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you, Özgür. Yes. Was an interesting start. Ah, Sheri. Aponia, ecstasy,
Very
creativity,
beautiful.
harmony.
Very
Huh?
beautiful. This is also good. Yes, has to be.
Thank you, Özgür. And let's go for the second speaker for this evening. I would like to welcome Neşe. One day, she found herself in an ocean of struggles. She suddenly discovered all was elusive and chose to stay awake within the dream. Neşe?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this lovely, lovely content and lovely meetup, let's say. My name is Neşe. I'm a member of Love Mafia. I'm a mind transformation and breathwork coach. For a very long time, people expected me that I can control my emotions very well since I'm a mind coach. But in Corona times, I've discovered that it's not going like that. And my emotions went through a big frequency of ocean waves. First, when I first heard that Corona was in Turkey, I think it was 11th or 12th of March. And we needed to be at home for a while. First, I was really, really happy because the last couple of months before the Corona, my father was in hospital and we lost him at the beginning of November. So that was a struggling time. And I was really happy that I was going to be at home and I will have all the time that I need for years after an Alzheimer patient's caregiver. So it was joy. I had time with my loved ones, family, with myself at home, had time to read, had time to watch movies, had time to rediscover new information about neuroscience and the mind. And then it was just 2 weeks, then came the anger. And the anger, it was mostly based that somebody was kicking out my freedom, and that was Corona. And I'm an Aquarius, so freedom is something really, really important and something really precious to me. So I started to work with myself and my mind to look at inside. Why was I breaking out my freedom? Because I was the one who was breaking out my freedom. I was projecting it onto Corona. And there came, it was a really long time because there was some spontaneous days working and cooking and working and cooking. I mean, there was the Emine Bedar inside of me. So I really discovered myself cooking a lot of meal. And then came the acceptance, where I thought that for years now, I am in the acceptance mood with Corona. I decided that this can fairly change with extreme times like death, illness, and pandemic. I started to go with the flow, and this acceptance gave me a huge power to create new content for my clients, for my mind-based trainings, and it was really helping. And I discovered many new information. Lately, for the last 2 weeks, I might say I'm extremely in a gratitude mode because although we complain this about a lot, I discovered that I am connecting with the whole planet somehow. When we are physical outside, this is not possible. We are using the internet, although this is harming and a lot of, I'm always on the screen. It's really tiring for me, for my eyes. I have lots of headaches, but I'm connected to the whole planet. Yesterday as La Mafia, we were in Catapult. We were whole day on the screen, but I got to know so many people from around the world who are really authentic, and speaking from the heart, and that extended me a lot. So now I am in a homeostasis state, which is stable with gratitude. So and the gratitude is mostly for this period helped me to connect with Love Mafia and its members. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Neşe. I mean, yeah, I think you have concluded well enough that it's always important that you are in a support group. When times are tough, we need people around us, and we need people around us who can really speak naked and share. That's very important. Thank you for your sharing. So, Sheri.
Thank you so much, Neşeciğim. It was beautiful. I have some question I will ask you later. For the next speaker, we have Eric. Mr. Eric, are you here?
Hang on a minute. I need to unmute myself.
Yes, you're unmuted. Yeah, perfect. Having switched to a new realm by 2014, I take all critical life decisions with my heart. Now, not with my mind. Since then, I'm on a journey to self-discovery. Here you are.
Thank you. At the beginning, it was a big shock to me too. I had two projects that I was supposed to start in Ankara and Istanbul on April and May. However, both projects got canceled. I also had a big fight with my beloved. As many others, I did the same. I joined to the live talks, watch movies and Netflix. I'm a huge basketball fan. While I was watching The Last Dance at Netflix, there was a scene where Steve Kerr was talking about losing his father. Similar to Michael Jordan's sharing, he started shedding his tears so beautifully. I immediately became emotional, start thinking of my late father, that I lost him when I was 16 years old. I noticed that regardless how many years have passed, some events have opened big scars on your heart that engraved on your personality. We have so many traumas, insecurities, wounds that we are carrying with us throughout the lives. Some we notice, some we don't. In fact, COVID-19 crisis gave me the opportunity to go deeper in my inner world. I started contemplating on my motives, persona, relationship over a month now. I discovered so many patterns that I'm going to share only one of them with you tonight, as the time is quite short. I'll speak from my heart in total surrender to your grace and love. We all want to be noticed, understood, and liked. The urge to be noticed is started with the infancy, like the baby is crying out loud for being heard when he's hungry. The voice of "I'm here" form over the time becomes patterns like attraction, attention, seeking appreciation or approval, or even being famous and popular. This is very natural and human. However, most of the time it dominates our behavior. And we portray a totally different person, a false identity. That I also do. When I was a child, I was much smaller than my friends. I could hardly be noticed, even heard. I was pretty shy and introvert. That's the reason the desire to be noticed is heavily embedded on me. During my professional tenure, I always wanted to show my accomplishments to my superior, wanted to get their recognition. Even now, I'm questioning my actions. Lately, I started the live Instagram events where I share the screen with another speaker. You may think that, you are seeking attention. For that reason, you are organizing the events. You might be right. I became more aware of my actions and my intentions. I was looking for attention. I was checking how many people were watching us. But then I realized whenever I'm giving my total attention to the topic we are discussing and delving into the conversation, the whole subject is not only opening my heart, was also touching to the listeners deeply. As I always say, I'm in a journey to discover my true self. I don't know when or ever I will find him, but I am compassionately caring and loving this young boy within me who was hurt, shamed, and betrayed. Whatever happened to him wasn't his fault or mistake. He suffered enough. Now is the time to pamper and accept this inner child with gratitude, care, and love. I'm certain that he will blossom as better me and he finally become free.
Thank you so much. It was beautiful sharing. You don't believe, maybe the first thing that I wrote for this talk was about the inner child, that why do we need to actually participate in the vulnerable talk? Because we need to give a voice to the inner child. Thank you so much. It was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. I just took some notes. Maybe during this session, I might ask this, or at the end of the session or later on, but thank you. So we shouldn't just stop. So refresh our minds after each and every speaker. So a new person is coming. Please prepare yourselves for the next speaker. She is Efsun. Efsun is our next speaker, and this is how she has described herself. Child of Mother Nature, believer in humanity, simplicity, and looking for beauty in life, consultant and facilitator for problem solving. Efsun?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me on the vulnerable calls. I already feel very vulnerable, and I want to thank Eric for being so open and vulnerable. I'm based out of New York, and as you all know, New York got hit really hard, and the pandemic has been very, very real here. So every day is different, every month is different, so all emotions and everything is changing in a kind of like a roller coaster place. As Eric said, like the first month was like mostly fear and not knowing, and then we became comfortable with that feeling, but then other feelings arise. So I wanted to talk to you about one of my experiences that I've come to realize is that I knew this already, but I realized how interconnected and interdependent we are within one another and with the systems that we're in. I already knew this, but it came to a level where it's like it's a cold truth on your face. And how much we're influenced by everything that's going on around us with the systems and what we're being told and being in a fear state of mind. So this actually really made me realize and look into space differently, because right now we're acting out of the 6 feet apart space, which is not really serving us individually or as a system. And we see that the systems are already like starting to collapse, banking, education, and health systems, and they're collapsing, but they're actually being reborn. So it's very important that we think about our space, not from a fear perspective, but be able to stand in our space with connecting to our true power. And when we're able to do that, then the fear dissolves and we can actually build a better life together. So we shall not forget that we're united with all of life and we cannot longer live for ourselves alone. And I'd like to actually add a quote from John Muir, who's a Scottish American naturalist and an environmental philosopher. He really put it beautifully when he said, when we try to pick anything out by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe. If we look at it from this perspective, if we approach the problems from this perspective, then we could be able to build systems that benefit the majority and not only the minority. That's what I wanted to share with you all. Thank you. Thank you for this space.
Perfect timing and perfect sharing. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Afsun, for being with us, but having all the time differences and all. I really appreciate your effort. Okay, our next speaker is Pravin. Pravin, are you with us? You need to unmute yourself. Okay, in the meanwhile, this is how Pravin introduces himself. Working as reflexologist for 20 years, work with people who want to quit medicine, in-depth knowledge of the diseases and how the body works. Praveen, please, the microphone is yours.
When this started, right from the beginning, I knew that this doesn't sound science, and what they're saying is something was not right. And I was just curious at the first thing, what is this thing which is like jumping, staying in your body for 14 days and not showing any symptom and suddenly jumping to someone else? And how does it make sense? It's more look like a voodoo than it look like epidemiology or let's say virology. It's just something weird. So I was thinking, and I was really from the first go, I was, nah, it's bullshit. And I kept telling everyone, no need to worry, it's all bullshit. But as the fear takes over to the most masses, people start closing themselves up. And I was surprised that how fast the fear can go by mouth to mouth on the basis of propaganda. And it's just not the research. But if you do the research, and if you just, now everybody can be a doctor, you just go on Google and find out about some sciences which has already been there and written about, and you can find out so many things about science. It's not a big deal. But nobody does this research. I just get disappointed. The thing is, I'm disappointed at the same time. I'm really relieved that this happened, because I was the crazy one who used to think that medicine is completely bullshitting people, and I was the one which has been outcasted. How I need this. No, you don't. You need your health, and health requires certain parameters, and that parameters is purely based on what you live and how you live your life in your body. And all these emotions, what people call a lot of emotions, is mostly hormonal imbalance, and mostly in women before their PMS, they can see it, how their mind goes crazy without any reason. So it's just purely hormones. If your hormones are in order, you're perfectly feeling fine and everything is fine. But we try to not question it, and we try to go beyond the physiology and go to the spiritual realm, which I call a spiritual la la land where everybody lives in, without using the analytical mind. There is a spirituality which is a very strong basis of analytical mind. If you just use the analytical mind, spirituality doesn't make sense. For me, it's equally part of spirituality how you have your common sense to ask questions and find the answers and have that curious thing. And as everybody knows, in Love Mafia, I'm the most hated and the most funny person in the group, because I never lost the connection with my child. I keep having fun, and I knew that we are all going to get fucked up one day, and it's going to be like this. People are coming after us, they're going to fuck us up. So why not enjoy the time till the time I'm getting fucked? But the whole disappointment part is I'm part of the collateral. So if there are so many people, those who believe in this fear, so I'll be part of the collaterals, and I'm okay with it now. I was frustrated that why people are not looking at it and not getting research about it. But right now I'm like, okay, fuck it. If everybody's getting fucked, I'm a collateral with it. Why not? Go with it. So I'm right now, it's pretty peaceful, and watching this soap opera playing out right in front of my, I'm pretty enjoying it. Yeah, in the beginning it was disappointment, frustration, but now I go with the flow, enjoy the shit. It's a shit show, and I'm supposed to be part of it. Why not? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Praveen, for being with us with your all the time controversial point of views. It was daring to show up. I wanted you to be heard. Thank you.
And also, I would like to say, I mean, it resembles, and it makes me remember a lot of things. Like 20 years ago, I used to tell everyone, like, do not take life so seriously. You're not going to get out of it alive. So this is sort of, sooner or later, we're all going to die. But the thing is, and I really like to talk. Thank you, Praveen. I love the phrase analytical spirituality. And thank you. Let's refresh ourselves, and let me introduce for the next 3 minutes Fariba. She's going to be with us. She's originally from Afghanistan, and I think she's going to unmute herself soon. Let me just introduce her with her own words. She's native Afghan. She's mother of 2 girls. She's a news reporter, author of 2 books, and these books are Opium Nation, Child Brides, and the other book is Drug Lords, One Woman's Journey Through Afghanistan. Fariba, we are with you.
Hi, can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi. So just a correction. It's one book called Opium Nation, Child Brides,
Sorry.
Drug Lords, and One Woman's Journey Through Afghanistan. So thanks for having me. So journalists, which is what I am and I have been for 22 years, are very skeptical about being vulnerable, especially publicly. So I had to think about this before I came on because I don't normally do this. And also where I come from, and I think a lot of us are coming from parts of Asia and the Middle East, we keep our personal lives to ourselves. Our privacy is very important to us. So to talk about it publicly, you have to sort of transgress that cultural stigma, right? So since on November 24th, I've been dealing with a loss, a very deep loss. And when the pandemic hit, that just made it worse. Because not only did I have to deal with this loss of someone who was my husband for 14 years, I had to also now deal with this idea of not having this social life and social circle that was my support system. But what happened in the beginning was wonderful. It was sort of serendipity because a friend of mine from Afghanistan decided to come. She went to France and she came back and I said, you can't stay with us for 2 weeks. She's also divorced and doesn't have children. I said, well, quarantine yourself for 2 weeks and then come. And she did that. And it just made the biggest difference. We were so down. I have 2 children, 2 girls, they're 9 and 12. And we were just down because we couldn't have our normal life. And I think the change in routine is what bothers a lot of people is, again, that one of you guys talked about that sense of freedom. And the other thing that was bothering me was the lack of sunshine. We're a vertical city like New York. We have a balcony, we have a garden, which makes us very lucky, but the time it was really cold. So the weather and the gloominess of the weather was not helping our mood. But when my friend came to stay with us, it made all the difference. It's this interconnectedness and interdependence that you talk about. I think so often this idea of solitude and being by yourself and reflecting by yourself is sort of romanticized too much, especially if you're an extrovert. We just need to admit that we need each other. And this is really hard on us that we can't be together, whether it's your friend or your loved one, your children. I guess the 2 things that are blessings for me are my children. I have had them around as much as it's been hard to work as well as, cook 3 meals a day and make sure that they're doing their classes through Zoom and, all of that. At the same time, another ritual that we started, I never watch TV because I don't have time. We started watching TV and we chose a very specific show. It's called The Gilmore Girls. And it's about this divorced single mom, or not divorced, but a single mom with a daughter. And they're both like these badass women. So that really, these are the very little things that helped us, I think, cope with this. And that routine, we built a new routine. And the new routine has been, we have our on days and off days. Now that the weather is better, I think it's gotten easier. And my friend had to leave. She had to go back to Afghanistan. And again, that was really, really hard because we would have these parties together, just the 4 of us. And we created this tiny little world of trust and vulnerability and female power, I shall say, because, we were dealing with a lot of sexism and misogyny before I divorced, and now we didn't have to. And so, but again, once she left, that was it. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Fariba. Sorry for the book, but I know that you have been participating as a co-author in many other books or articles. So you've been writing all your life. So I'm sure you have written enough, more than 2 books in your life. And thank you for this vulnerable story of the feminine power getting together and establishing new routines. That's fantastic. Thank you. And Sheri, our next speaker. Yeah, last speaker.
Next and last speaker. Yes, Mr. Özkan, our psychologist. You're with us, yes?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, loud and clear. down to the nitty gritty of emotions. You are the right person to be on Vulnerable Talk. Support at the intersection of mind and heart. Love to travel, eat, have fun, and experience. Here is your experience.
Thank you. Well, first, thank you guys for this open space. I'm a therapist, and the communication I built is mostly one-sided. People talk to me, but they don't know how I feel or think. So you don't transfer your emotions as much. But I do feel. I sometimes talk much, sometimes less, but I feel. I got really sensitive at times and remembered how precious really to feel vulnerable or share feelings of, sadness, anger, fear, all the emotions with people. A doctor can finally do a surgery trying to save up a kid's life in terms of guidelines. There's nothing wrong with it. But how much of a difference would it be that if that doctor connects with the kid and would do anything for him, also emotionally, with passion and all of the energy? That's what I remember these times. COVID period started blank in me. There was no feeling that I can identify, didn't understand what I should do or what everyone should do as a matter of cautiousness. Being frozen was my first reaction. My work is doubled immediately, typical, that when an earthquake or disaster happens, suddenly you see people talking about psychology non-stop, on the news. It wasn't easy when death numbers started coming to me. Some families I worked with are affected. Some people from companies I worked with lost her mother and father consecutively in 2 days. So this morning work, I hated because there's nothing to do or say really. All that I made sure that they are conscious and speaking, that's all. 2 of my clients got the virus. Being in that moment as a therapist is really hard because I feel what they feel. I sometimes even cry after sessions. And emotions really connect us. Anxiety, I also feel, but lessons wait when it's shared. I'm also sad and anxious and I'm affected, but that's fine. When emotions are shared, you feel more attached. My childhood friend's father that I know of well committed a suicide 2 weeks ago. This was how tough the situation. Days after days we spent in lockdown, things started to lose meaning for me. Being always online is energy draining. Also, I'm very physically active, and not seeing the sun also affects me like everyone. So I felt depressed at times. I started to play video games, if you believe. I always say game addiction is an escape from reality, a defense mechanism when you feel unsuccessful inside. But I also play video games. But at the end, I decided to change my attitude, to quit Netflix, to stop complaining of things that is not productive for me. Your attitude changes how you live. So how I'm coping now? Well, I do the cooking at home because this all comes down to survival and we should eat. And my beloved wife doesn't know how to cook. But, I'm really thankful this period again reminded me that I'm not just here for myself. I'll focus on my responsibilities and be there for families and kids. That gives me the meaning of my life. No one comes to life really knowing that they'll extinct one day. Everyone comes to exist in this world. Me too. But also how I live when being existed, that all matters at the end. I choose to live thinking, how can I make my human sphere of life more meaningful and beautiful? So that's all I have to share for now.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. It was really powerful, daring, and honest. And I'm really glad that you shared something that we all must have felt. So there we are, 7 speakers already shared. And here is your time. All the microphones of the speakers are going to be unmuted right now.
if any of the 7 speakers, yes, want to add something, yeah, we shall just give some time.
If you want to answer any of the question which is being directed to you, please unmute your microphone right now. And if you want to share anything about what your other friends have said, please go ahead. This is yours.
Yeah, let me just start. Yeah, okay. Sheri asked the question.
Yes, please.
just to give it a go. Neshe, are you with us? Sheri is asking you, and you've seen the question, right?
I'm with you. Orkun always inspires me with his talks. Thanks to him.
He does.
His knowledge and his heart connection is really unbelievable. I salute you, Orkun. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I do as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the pain process he was telling remind me a very important issue for my life. I adapted myself to give support to Alzheimer patient families. And this coronavirus period affected them a lot because an Alzheimer patient without getting out of home is incredibly hard to take care of. If he's, let's say, available to walk and eat and whatever, it's okay. Somehow, worst case, you take him or her out of the house, bring out around the apartment and take back to home, and it's okay if he is agitated. But for those people, for Alzheimer patients who are taken care at home or care facilities around, they are mostly affected because the facility staff, facility personnel didn't take care of your of hygiene environment. So most of the Alzheimer patients have died due to the coronavirus, and their families were expecting support from the government and people who can give support to them. So I was really, really affected for families calling me and asking for support. I was crying whole day, just like Orkun, because I had this period for 15 years. So it was really hard. There are people that we don't know around, apart from the hospitals, that really, really emotionally affected, and the level of anxiety goes to a certain level that only the God can help, let me say. This is such a period. So I just wanted to give that info and share my feelings to all the people here.
Thank you. Thank you. Such a vulnerable
One thing I want to share, that I met a friend after, like, she was closed for 2 months and she came over and we hugged and she was wearing the mask and I said, oh, fucking, I don't care about this much, give me a hug. And I gave her a hug. She didn't leave the hug and she almost cried, that she said that why this is happening. This is what humans have come to, that we are scared. And I felt really bad for her because I never stopped going out. I never stopped meeting my friends and stuff. So for me, it was not a problem, but for some people, those who are inside, just to get a human-to-human touch was such a big deal for them, and it cracks them to cry. And we take a hug and a kiss on the cheeks so easily, like it's a part of greeting, but it's not. It's something more than that. It's something more than a connection you make with people when you hug and when you kiss, when you shake hands. It's all part of the human connection, and that's why I'm not in digital media and I don't connect to it, because I need a human.
And this is true. And thank you for being with us today. Actually, yeah, and I give you you're right, because we all say we are frequencies and we have vibrations, and when we hug, we just tune into each other, and it's quite important to give a hug. It's not just greeting. It's just like tuning into each other and sharing a frequency and coming into the same frequency so that we can communicate. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else who wants to give a shot? Or else I'll be just going through my words. Oh, please, Fariba, you want to add something?
I mean, it's hard. I don't know. I think this shared experience I host a podcast called On Spec, and we started to cover the pandemic from different parts of the world. And one of our main subject is shared experiences. So hearing everyone else, and they're like, misery loves company in a way. So when you talk about how difficult it is, and other people are hearing that, I think for some it does help that you're not alone. We had one episode called Alone But Not Lonely, in which how people were dealing with the sort of feelings of loss of freedom, loss of you know, a lot of things. And the feedback we're getting is that it helps to know that, you know, from Hong Kong to Mexico to San Francisco, this is the same. And no matter what class, no matter what, you know, although of course people who are poorer are suffering more everywhere. But in the most part, we're all in the same shit.
Yeah. That's correct.
That was great. Before Özkan goes through her talk, I want to just add, if any of you, dear participants who are listening to us, watching us, if you want to be in the vulnerable talk, if you have something that you want to share, if you have your own personal experience and you discovered something during this time, please write to Özkan and I. We would love to have you in the next episode of this talk. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's quite important. And obviously we started in this period, which we thought it was a necessity to share safely these vulnerable talks. So this is the second week. I don't know how long the series is going to go, but the most important thing is that we want to continue because it's a safe space to listen and share without prejudice. And as we have always promised, we want to keep it short. I would have just on this topic talked freely for an hour myself, but I admire all the guest speakers tonight. They just shared very intense and the core of their beliefs and support systems, what they've gone through, their own vulnerable stories in just 3 minutes. So it was very inspiring for us as well. I think if nobody else from the 7 speakers is willing to share, we're almost coming to an end to make it. And I would like to continue just a few words. This is how we do it here. I'm going to just share a few sentences with you, and then I will go in complete silence. And then with these, what we don't like and what we don't find sympathetic and humane in these electronic get-togethers is that the host is just finishing the session. We're not going to do it. I'm just going to talk very shortly, and then we will hear the gong from Sheri, and then we will stop the recording, and but Sheri will be playing her sounds with us. You will be, you can just leave whenever you want. Naked. We arrive here naked. Naked, fragile, weak, vulnerable. We come to this world vulnerable and naked. We are surrounded with adults at the beginning, and they are dressing us. Being naked is a shame. We learned not to be naked. All our lives, we are very well dressed. Amongst others, walking naked is a shame. When we are ashamed of being naked, also we forgot that we are breakable, we are fragile, and we are vulnerable, and we forgot to be naked in terms of our feelings to our very close ones, to our communities and sport ones. I just want to say it's time to accept that we came naked and we're going to go naked. So why not share all your vulnerable stories in a safe place with your loved ones? Thank you.